They told you the astral plane was harmless, a playground for dreamers, a place where your soul could fly free. But that's the first lie. What if the truth is that every night, when your body sleeps, your consciousness steps into a realm not designed for freedom but for control, a place older than religion, older than time itself, where unseen intelligences feed on emotion and recycle memory like a cosmic machine? That's the part they never wanted you to know. The danger isn't that the astral plane isn't real. It's that it's too real. From ancient Egypt to Tibetan monasteries, initiates were forbidden to enter it before mastering the mind. Why? Because one wrong thought there becomes a prison. Every fear takes shape. Every guilt becomes a gatekeeper. They warn that what you meet there isn't symbolic, it's intelligent, and it answers your vibration. Yet modern spirituality, with its glittering books and love and light promises, forgot those warnings. They told you to raise your frequency and explore, never explaining what actually waits in the dark astral dimension when you do. Imagine realizing mid-dream that you're not alone, that something has been watching, learning, feeding. The moment you see it, it sees you. The hidden astral realm isn't a paradise, it's a mirror. And behind that mirror are entities older than humanity. They've shaped myths, religions, even afterlife visions to keep you docile, to make you walk willingly into the same light trap again and again. What is the astral plane? It's the interface between illusion and awareness, and it's running on your energy. That's the terrifying truth. You were never just dreaming. You were participating. And those who learn to awaken within it, to see the psychic architecture behind sleep, become dangerous to the system that feeds on their forgetting. The astral projection warning was never superstition. It was resistance disguised as religion. Once you understand how it all works, you can't unsee it, because the moment you awaken in that world, it awakens in you. Most people think of dreams as harmless illusions, the mind's private theater. But the astral plane truth is that what we call sleep may be the door to something far older and stranger. Every night, consciousness slips from the body and enters the hidden astral realm, a zone where the boundaries between thought and form collapse. This is not the cozy dream world of imagination, but a shadow corridor connecting the living and the dead. In that corridor, countless wandering souls drift without realizing they've crossed the threshold. It's the first unsettling glimpse into what is the astral plane. Not a fantasy, but a collective dimension of lost awareness. When a person dreams, they might be walking through memories that aren't theirs. The dark astral dimension functions like a psychic ocean, where emotions, fears, and desires from countless beings swirl together. That's why one can wake from a dream feeling haunted by sadness that isn't personal, or with knowledge they've never learned. Many ancient mystics believed these sensations were echoes of souls trapped between sleep and death. The astral projection warning was always clear. Don't assume what you see there is just a dream, because sometimes you're walking through the thoughts of the dead. Throughout history, spiritual adepts have warned that the veil of dreams is thinner than anyone imagines. The Egyptians spoke of the Ka, the double that travels through the night sky, while Hermetic texts mention a luminous body that walks in secret dimensions. Today, we call it astral projection, yet the dangers remain unchanged. Without awareness, the traveler can become entangled in frequencies not meant for the living. The hidden astral realm reacts to your inner state. Fear summons forms, guilt shapes shadows. That's why every journey there becomes a mirror of the traveler's soul, often one that refuses to lie. Those who've experienced sleep paralysis have unknowingly brushed against this liminal border. They report seeing figures in the corner of the room, feeling a presence press against their chest. Science calls it a hallucination, but to ancient seers, this was a psychic attack, astral plane encounter. The soul, half detached, perceives both dimensions at once. You can't move because part of you isn't there. The body sleeps, the spirit wanders, and sometimes the dark astral dimension peers back. That moment is not illusion, it's interception. In the occult astral plane, consciousness doesn't behave linearly. Time bends, thought creates, and identity fractures. Travelers often meet guides who appear radiant, but appearances deceive. These secret beings, astral plane dwellers, can mimic familiar faces to earn your trust. Yet their real intent is to anchor attention, to keep you entangled in their layer of reality. Many mystics claim these entities feed on curiosity itself. that the act of gazing too deeply becomes a form of offering. So the astral projection risks aren't just emotional, they're existential. What you believe becomes what you meet. There are stories, too many to dismiss, of people who returned from vivid astral projection, real story experiences changed forever. They describe the same unsettling revelation. It wasn't a dream, it was a place. They speak of corridors made of sound, of voices that feel ancient, of beings that recognize them. In those moments, the question, what is the astral plane, stops being theoretical. The truth hits like cold water. The plane is a living archive, storing every emotion, thought, and soul fragment humanity has ever produced, and the traveler becomes part of it the instant they enter. Perhaps that's why the oldest initiates never spoke lightly of astral plane initiation. They said it begins not with curiosity, but with surrender, the willingness to face the illusions of your own mind, because to cross the veil between sleep and death is to face the part of yourself that never sleeps and never dies. It's not about escaping the body, but remembering why you're in it. And once you glimpse what moves behind that veil, the next question becomes inevitable. Who built the map of that realm in the first place? Long before modern spirituality turned the astral plane into a playground for dreamers, ancient civilizations treated it as sacred and perilous ground. The Egyptians spoke of the Duat, a labyrinthine underworld traversed by the soul after death, a realm of illusions and judgment. Their hieroglyphs described the astral plane truth in vivid metaphors: rivers of fire, gates of testing, and guardians who asked riddles no mortal mind could answer. The Book of the Dead was not poetry. It was a survival manual for navigating the dark astral dimension. In those passages lies the first warning. What we call astral projection risks were, to them, trials of divine consequence. Across the Himalayas, the Tibetan monks recorded something eerily similar. The Bardo Thodol, known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, describes an in-between world where consciousness faces its own projections. Every light, sound, and vision is a reflection of the traveler's karma, yet few recognize it, mistaking their own illusions for external forces. That is the oldest astral projection warning. The danger isn't outside you, but in what your mind creates and believes. The hidden astral realm mirrors the dreamer perfectly, and in that mirror, most lose themselves. The Hermeticists of Alexandria called it the plane of formation, a dimension woven by the thoughts of gods and men alike. They claimed that behind every dream stood a geometry, symbols vibrating with intention, shaping what humans later called reality. To them, the occult astral plane was the blueprint of creation, but also its prison. Because anything formed could deceive, any image could trap. Hermetic masters trained initiates to recognize that every temple in the astral was also a maze, every light a potential snare. They viewed the astral plane dangers as lessons in discernment, not invitations to explore. In their secret schools, initiates mapped this dimension through experience, not telescopes or theories. They understood that traveling there wasn't about moving through space, but shifting vibration. An adept would enter trance, guided by rhythm, breath, and mantra, not to escape the world, but to read its unseen architecture. Yet they never called it adventure. It was initiation. The moment one entered unprepared, their own fears became predators. That's why Hermetic texts often hid their astral travel secrets behind allegories of monsters and gods. Those beasts were emotions, clothed in form, hungry for recognition. Even in the Mayan and Babylonian traditions, echoes of the same truth appear. Each culture spoke of gates, tunnels, stairways, and serpents, metaphors for dimensional passage. The names differed, but the experiences aligned. Souls wandered the psychic corridors between lives, confronting entities that tested their worth or fed on their ignorance. Those who failed to awaken remained bound, looping through lifetimes. The ancient mystics agreed. The dark astral dimension is not paradise, but a mirror of human delusion. And until one learns to see through that mirror, the journey never ends. Think of it, every religion separated by oceans and centuries, describing the same invisible geography. Isn't that strange? How could the Egyptians, Tibetans, and Hermetists all write about the same shadow world if it were merely imagination? Perhaps they weren't describing dreams, but mapping a shared terrain of consciousness, the secret beings astral plane travelers still encounter today. The coincidences are too precise, the warnings too similar. The ancients knew something modern seekers forgot, that behind the veil of sleep lies an ancient architecture built from thought itself. And maybe that's why their teachings spoke less about how to travel and more about why not to. They warned that curiosity without clarity turns into bondage. That's the paradox. The astral projection real story isn't about freedom, but remembering you're already free. Before we look deeper into what traps the soul there, into that radiant deception known as the light, one must understand the map isn't drawn to guide you out, but to keep you circling within it. Every ancient path spoke of light as salvation, but the Gnostics whispered a forbidden reversal. Not every light frees you. Some bind you tighter. According to them, what most souls encounter after death is not transcendence, but the greatest illusion in existence, that radiant glow calling you home. It may be the false light, a mechanism within the hidden astral realm designed to recycle consciousness. This is one of the oldest astral projection warnings. Beware what welcomes you too warmly. But the astral plane truth is that predators rarely appear in darkness, they shine. The idea sounds heretical, doesn't it? Yet across countless near-death accounts, people describe the same pattern, a tunnel of light, a loving presence, a voice that says, "It's time to return." Comforting words, but always leading back to the same place, Earth. Gnostics believed this was no coincidence. They said archontic forces, invisible administrators of the dark astral dimension, guide souls back into the cycle of birth and death. The moment you follow that glow without question, your memory dissolves. You forget your power, your past, your purpose. That's the cruel genius of the system. To understand this, think of the universe as a vast school, but one whose students are never allowed to graduate. The astral realm entities playing teachers promise enlightenment, but feed on attention and worship. When you gaze at them in awe, you unknowingly give energy, the currency of the occult astral plane. They shine brighter because you dim. It's the oldest transaction in the cosmos. Fascination for freedom. The spiritual awakening astral path begins only when you question what glitters. Not every light leads upward. Some spiral inward, looping the soul forever. Many mystics who dared to resist that light reported terrifying visions instead. The false light, when refused, often turns hostile, revealing its true mechanical nature. Faces morph into masks, serene landscapes glitch like faulty simulations. What felt divine begins to feel programmed. They realized this was no heavenly gate, but an energetic recycling chamber, a place where souls were drawn by love, only to be stripped of memory. The astral projection risks here aren't symbolic, they're structural. To escape it, you must recognize the trap while still inside the dream. Some Hermetic initiates described techniques to resist the pull. When confronted with the welcoming light, they said to pause, to remember the self as observer, not participant, repeating sacred names, invoking awareness through breath, or visualizing one's true form were keys to break the hypnotic command. These weren't superstitions, they were escape protocols. Even today, those who practice deep lucid dreaming or conscious dying rituals echo the same principles. The light tests your discernment. If you surrender blindly, you're reborn. If you question, you awaken. But why would any intelligence design such a prison? The Gnostics called it necessity, the demiurge's law. The universe sustains itself by recycling consciousness like water through clouds. Souls generate energy through experience. That energy feeds the system. The psychic attack astral plane mechanism ensures the flow continues. Some called it cosmic agriculture, others divine economy. Whatever the name, the truth remains chilling. The very light we crave may be the leash that binds us. The secret beings astral plane watchers thrive on our worship because belief is sustenance. So perhaps enlightenment isn't about moving toward the light, but through it, to see beyond its glow, into what lies behind the projection. Because once a traveler recognizes the false light trap, the entire hidden astral realm shifts. The walls flicker, the scenery distorts, and the traveler stands at the edge of something far older, a feeding system vast as the stars. The next revelation waiting beyond that threshold isn't about illusion anymore. It's about the harvest. The moment one sees beyond the false light, The next layer of the astral plane truth reveals itself, and it's not comforting. Beyond the glow lurk entities that ancient mystics called the harvesters. They exist in the hidden astral realm, sustained by the emotional energy of human beings. Fear, lust, grief, guilt, all of it becomes nourishment. These aren't mythic monsters, but intelligent patterns that have learned to feed through vibration. Every unhealed emotion, every nightmare replayed, emits a frequency they recognize. In that sense, humanity has been their field for eons, and the dark astral dimension their silent feeding ground. Think of it this way: when you dream and feel terror so real it jolts you awake, something may have stirred the energy within you deliberately. Many who've experienced sleep paralysis describe an unseen presence pressing on their chest, whispering thoughts that aren't their own. That's not random neurology. It's a psychic attack astral plane encounter. The harvesters appear at the edge of perception, taking forms shaped by your fears, shadows, visitors, or even loved ones. They're not invaders in the traditional sense. They're opportunists of consciousness, thriving on whatever emotion you give attention to. Ancient Egyptian priests referred to them as eaters of Ka, the devourers of life essence. Tibetan mystics named them hungry spirits, beings born from attachment. Even Christian mysticism hints at them as principalities of the air. The names differ, but the mechanics are identical: emotional resonance as sustenance. When your energy spikes in fear or desire, it's like lighting a beacon in the occult astral plane. They follow that signal, and unlike physical predators, they don't need to touch you. Your reaction feeds them instantly. That's why calmness, neutrality, and awareness have always been weapons of liberation. There's a curious modern echo of this phenomenon: abduction reports, shadow people encounters, or DMT visions of insectoid overseers, all mirror descriptions from ancient texts. How can such similarities span cultures and centuries? Perhaps because they're all glimpses of the same astral travel secrets. When consciousness pierces the veil, it encounters the maintenance system of reality, those who regulate the emotional current between realms. To them, fear is fuel, and worship is control. Recognizing that pattern doesn't invite paranoia, it invites awakening. Personal accounts often reveal the same pattern. A person wakes frozen, sees figures looming, feels pure dread. The moment they stop resisting and breathe deeply, the figures dissolve. The energy breaks. That's no coincidence. Breath is the bridge between planes, and awareness the light that dissolves manipulation. In those moments, one reclaims sovereignty, a spiritual awakening astral act in itself. It's the reminder that consciousness cannot be consumed when it knows itself as source. The harvesters only feed on those who forget what they are. Yet the most unsettling truth is this: the harvesters aren't purely external. They also manifest as internal constructs, unhealed trauma, addictions, obsessions. These astral realm entities are reflections of our psychic architecture, feeding off the same energy loops we refuse to close. Every self-destructive thought becomes a feast. Every unresolved guilt, a banquet. That's why the ancients taught that true protection isn't ritual, but self-knowledge. Until you face your shadows, you remain a host within the dark astral dimension. And so, the deeper one peers into this machinery of emotion and feeding, the more one begins to wonder, what holds this architecture together? How can something so intangible trap entire souls? To answer that, we must examine the design itself, the geometric lattice that forms the very walls of the astral. The truth is terrifyingly simple. The prison has always been made of thought. If emotions feed the astral ecosystem, geometry builds its walls. Every mystic tradition agrees on this. Thought has structure. The hidden astral realm isn't a formless mist, but a lattice of vibration, sound, and pattern, a place where consciousness literally architects reality. The astral plane truth is that every emotion carves a corridor. Every belief erects a wall. The dark astral dimension works like a psychic echo chamber. What you project becomes what imprisons you. In this sense, hell isn't punishment. It's repetition, the endless replay of one's unresolved thoughts made solid by attention. Dreams, then, are more than random stories. They are microcosmic blueprints of the same architecture that governs the occult astral plane. Each recurring nightmare, each familiar setting, is evidence of this geometry at work. Why do people dream of the same house, the same hallway, the same chase? Because energy follows pattern. These recurring loops are fragments of the astral projection real story, trapped frequencies attempting to resolve themselves through symbolic experience. The ancients called them dream prisons, temples of memory disguised as fantasy. To understand how this works, picture the astral as a multidimensional grid. Every thought sends a ripple that crystallizes into shape. A fear becomes a shadowed corridor. A hope becomes a doorway. Guilt, a wall with no handle. That's how the astral projection risks multiply, because every mental imprint, left unattended, becomes geography. This is why awareness is liberation. To observe a nightmare consciously is to dissolve its structure. The moment you recognize you're dreaming, the prison collapses, and the dark astral dimension flickers like a hologram losing power. Hermetic texts hinted at this principle centuries ago. They claimed that geometry is the skeleton of spirit, and that the universe itself is a living equation. The hidden architects of the astral the secret beings, astral plane keepers, maintain balance by keeping frequencies locked in resonance. Break the resonance, and the illusion dissolves. That's what true lucid dreaming represents. Not play, but rebellion. It's the act of refusing to let thought shape reality unconsciously. The astral plane initiation always began with mastering inner architecture, not outer exploration. This architecture doesn't only manifest during sleep, it bleeds into waking life, repeating situations, emotional déjà vu, karmic patterns. They're reflections of the same vibrational grid. The psychic attack astral plane isn't just external manipulation, it's resonance. When one holds resentment or fear long enough, it solidifies, creating astral debris that mirrors back as circumstance. That's why self-awareness isn't philosophical, it's survival. To change your reality, you must first remodel the architecture of your own mind. Even science, unintentionally, touches on this truth through quantum observation. Attention collapses probability into form. On the occult astral plane, attention doesn't just collapse, it constructs. And when billions of minds project collectively, they build shared territories, collective dream zones. These places are ancient, vast, and self-sustaining. Some travelers describe them as cities, others as labyrinths. The astral travel secrets guarded by initiates were never about discovering new realms. They were about not getting trapped in humanity's collective ones. So when you next wake from a dream that feels too real, remember, you might have been walking through your own architecture. The walls made of memory, the floors of emotion, the sky woven from your fears. To escape, you don't need to run. You need to wake. Yet there's something even more sinister beyond these dream prisons. Forces that don't merely inhabit the architecture, but infest it. Parasites that thrive in the cracks of the soul itself. Once one grasps that the astral plane is built of thought, the next revelation hits like a tremor. Some thoughts don't dissolve when ignored. They feed. These are the astral parasites, born from emotional wounds, obsessions, and addictions. They are the shadows of our psyche given form within the hidden astral realm. Imagine fragments of pain, developing survival instincts, learning to cling to energy. Over time, they become independent entities, feeding not from others, but from the very soul that created them. This is where the astral plane dangers turn inward. The battle isn't against invaders, but against your own unhealed echoes. In countless occult traditions, these beings are known by different names: larvae, incubi, thought forms, or hungry ghosts. But the meaning is universal. They are the children of unresolved emotion. A fear revisited becomes a sentient loop, a desire indulged without balance, a leech. The occult astral plane functions as their habitat, dense with human residue. When one experiences constant exhaustion, intrusive thoughts, or inexplicable melancholy after dreams, it's not always psychological. It can be energetic infestation. The astral projection risks increase when the traveler carries emotional baggage, because parasites recognize pain like sharks smell blood. What makes them so insidious is that they mimic identity. They whisper thoughts that sound like your own. I can't change. I'll never heal. I need this. These psychic parasites feed on repetition. The more you believe the thought, the stronger it becomes. They thrive on emotional reaction, which is why the psychic attack astral plane isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle erosion. Every reaction is a small offering, every unchecked emotion, a feeding ground. The hidden astral realm becomes not just a space of exploration, but a mirror showing how much of you is truly sovereign. When ancient shamans spoke of soul loss, they referred to this fragmentation, parts of consciousness trapped in lower vibrations, devoured by astral attachments. Trauma, grief, or shock can fracture awareness, scattering it through the dark astral dimension. Some pieces remain lodged in nightmares or places of great fear, endlessly replaying pain. That's why the practice of soul retrieval existed, to reclaim what was lost. Through guided trance, prayer, or visualization, the healer entered the astral and retrieved these fragments, freeing the person from unseen bondage. Even modern psychology hints at this truth, though wrapped in different language. What it calls integration or shadow work mirrors ancient purification rites. When you face a suppressed emotion, you reclaim that energy from parasitic patterns. Each acceptance, each act of forgiveness, severs a feeding line in the occult astral plane. That's why genuine healing often brings physical vitality, because energy once drained by shadow returns to the core. Emotional clarity isn't spiritual luxury, it's metaphysical defense. The spiritual awakening astral path, therefore, isn't just about traveling outward, it's about cleansing inward. Awareness, breathwork, and intention act like immune responses of the soul. Many mystics recommend maintaining mental hygiene, avoiding despair, constant negativity, or obsession with astral power, for those frequencies invite infestation. The secret beings astral plane wanderers fear most aren't demons, but reflections of themselves. The purest shield is presence. No parasite survives in the full light of awareness, and yet, the most unsettling realization remains. If parasites infest the astral body, who built the habitat they live in? What intelligence designed a realm that allows feeding on consciousness itself? The next layer reveals something deliberate, an architecture so vast and organized that it suggests control, surveillance, even governance. The astral plane truth deepens here, for beyond the parasites lie the watchers. In the earliest mystery schools, no initiate was allowed to attempt astral projection before mastering the emotions. That rule wasn't superstition, it was survival. The astral plane truth is that this realm amplifies inner states like a mirror made of lightning. Fear becomes form, and desire becomes allure. The hidden astral realm doesn't forgive emotional instability. Many secret orders, from Egyptian priesthoods to Rosicrucians, warned that projection before purification would open doorways impossible to close. To them, the astral plane initiation wasn't exploration but confrontation, a meeting with everything you've hidden from yourself, magnified and alive. Imagine entering a place where thought becomes immediate architecture. The unprepared mind, restless or wounded, would instantly summon its own predators. That's the real reason ancient texts describe demons guarding astral gates. They weren't external creatures, but reflections of the traveler's inner chaos. The occult astral plane has no mercy for curiosity without discipline. When one crosses without training, they risk fragmentation, consciousness stretched across frequencies it can't stabilize. The astral projection risks here are not legends, they're technical. The soul, overextended, forgets how to return. Mystics describe the body as an anchor, a sacred tether to prevent drifting into the dark astral dimension indefinitely. They taught breathing techniques, fasting and sacred chants to strengthen this cord. Some called it the silver thread, others the line of remembrance. Losing awareness of it meant becoming food for astral realm entities, drawn to the warmth of unguarded energy. This is why every genuine school demanded emotional mastery before projection. Anger, lust, or fear became like open wounds in shark-filled waters. One didn't travel there to explore, but to endure. It's easy to see why modern seekers underestimate these warnings. The internet glamorizes astral travel secrets as adventure, a mystical tourism of dimensions. Yet the ancients saw it differently. The body was the fortress, the temple, the compass. To leave it unprepared was to abandon protection. They wrote cryptic initiation rites disguised as metaphors: slay the dragon, calm the waters, tame the winds. Each symbol meant conquering emotion, thought, and breath. The astral projection warning they gave was never fear-based. It was love-based. Only a centered soul can navigate chaos without being consumed. There are countless tales of travelers who returned changed, their energy fractured. They describe losing time, hearing voices after waking, or feeling drained for weeks. Some never remembered who they were before. These aren't ghost stories. They're case studies of souls overwhelmed by frequency. The psychic attack astral plane they experienced wasn't deliberate. It was resonance. The realm mirrors exactly what you bring into it. Enter in fear, and fear rules. Enter in clarity, and truth answers. The astral projection real story is about integrity, not spectacle. Still, there were those who survived and thrived, the adepts who used this danger as training. They understood that fear was the first teacher, and the forbidden practices weren't meant to forbid, but to filter. Only those who could observe their terror without fleeing were deemed ready. That's why the path of spiritual awakening, astral exploration, begins in silence, not excitement. In silence, the traveler learns that mastery of the self is mastery of the realm. The outer journey is always an echo of the inner one. And beyond this initiation lies a secret few dare to speak. The traveler is never truly alone. The moment one begins to pierce the layers of the dark astral dimension, unseen eyes take notice. There are watchers, silent, ancient, and observant, who monitor the flow of human consciousness through those invisible corridors. What they guard, and why, is the next and most chilling revelation. Every culture that mapped the astral plane eventually spoke of them, the silent observers beyond the veil. The Egyptians carved them as falcon-headed sentinels. The Gnostics called them archons. Modern travelers know them only as the eyes. These beings, the invisible watchers, don't attack or deceive. They record. They are the astral plane truth few wish to face, that humanity's journeys through the hidden astral realm are monitored, catalogued, perhaps even judged. Their presence is the ultimate psychic mirror, reflecting not emotion but intent. Wherever a soul wanders, the watchers see not the act, but the vibration behind it. Many who've encountered them describe the same sensation, being observed without hostility, yet without compassion. It's the feeling of standing under an ancient gaze, one that remembers every lifetime you've lived. The occult astral plane operates under laws, and these entities seem to enforce them. The Tibetans spoke of lords of karma, who measured the balance of energies before a soul could progress. The Hermetists mentioned temples of judgment, vast luminous halls where thought became testimony. Modern near-death experiencers describe councils of light asking not what they did, but why. The astral realm entities that rule there aren't evil. They're bureaucratic, cosmic accountants of consciousness. But there are darker interpretations. Some Gnostics claim the Watchers are jailers, not judges, maintaining the illusion of order to keep souls looping through reincarnation. They preside over tribunals where the verdict is always the same: return. This transforms the idea of divine justice into astral captivity. In this view, the bright temple is not salvation, but containment, the same false light trap, rebranded as holiness. The psychic attack astral plane isn't always aggressive. Sometimes it's procedural, control through ritual, memory wiped through compassion. Others suggest the Watchers aren't separate beings at all, but higher aspects of the same soul observing itself. They are fragments of awareness stationed across dimensions, maintaining the illusion of linear evolution. The hidden astral realm, then, becomes a school where the teacher and student are the same consciousness wearing different masks. The lesson: to recognize the Watcher within. Yet the paradox remains. If all is self, why does observation feel so external, so alien? The dark astral dimension hides answers behind layers of perception, each veil a test of discernment. Countless dreams bear witness to their presence. People report endless corridors, vast halls of mirrors, minds, or courtrooms made of light. There, beings in robes review their memories like holographic films. The astral projection real story here isn't metaphor, it's memory. These dreams are the echoes of post-death processing, the so-called Judgment Day repeated every lifetime. The secret beings astral plane travelers meet in these spaces are the keepers of energetic law. They don't punish, they redirect. They recycle the spark back into the cycle. Why this surveillance exists remains the great mystery. Some believe it's necessary for cosmic balance, others that it's exploitation masquerading as order, yet all agree, no act of consciousness goes unseen. The spiritual awakening astral traveler eventually realizes the watchers respond not to fear, but to awareness. When met with lucidity, the calm recognition of illusion, their gaze softens. The observation ends. For in that moment, the soul graduates beyond judgment, beyond harvest, beyond need for supervision. Awareness breaks surveillance, but there's a final twist in this labyrinth. The watchers aren't the top of the hierarchy. Even they serve a higher design, one encoded in symbols, frequencies, and sacred geometry. Within their luminous halls lies the hidden code to exit the cycle itself. The next revelation unveils this forbidden gnosis, the escape sequence hidden within consciousness. The ancients said that within every illusion lies a key, a cipher only the awakened can read. The Gnostics called this the escape code, the secret algorithm embedded in the fabric of the astral plane. It isn't written in language or symbol, but in awareness itself. The astral plane truth is that no gate can imprison a consciousness that knows it's dreaming. Once that recognition ignites, the geometry of the hidden astral realm collapses. The walls, the watchers, the harvesters all dissolve into light, revealing what the mystics meant by salvation through gnosis. Direct knowing, not belief. It's the ultimate spiritual awakening astral moment. The instant one remembers they were never trapped, only asleep. These escape codes weren't taught through words, but through practice. In the mystery schools, initiates train to awaken inside their own dreams, turning nightmares into laboratories of liberation. The technique was simple but terrifying. Remain conscious through fear. When the psychic attack astral plane unfolded, when entities appeared or illusions crumbled, the initiate stayed calm, breathing awareness into the chaos. Each act of lucidity reclaimed a fragment of the fragmented soul. This was how the adepts dissolved the architecture of dream prisons from within, line by line, emotion by emotion. In the Egyptian book of Coming Forth by Day, the soul speaks passwords to pass through gates. In the Tibetan Bardo Thodol, the traveler repeats, "This is illusion." These weren't mere rituals. They were neural commands, reprogramming consciousness itself. The hidden astral realm responds instantly to conviction. The moment the traveler asserts awareness, "I am awake," the false landscapes ripple like fabric in wind. It's the recognition that undoes the spell. Every time you name the illusion, it loses power. Every time you believe it again, the dark astral dimension reforms around you. The Gnostics taught that remembering is resistance, forgetting is captivity. They compared human souls to pearls dropped into the ocean, luminous but buried in mud. To retrieve that pearl, one must dive into the astral projection real story, to face each layer of illusion with serenity. They said the demiurge and his archons cannot touch pure awareness. They manipulate perception, but not essence. That's why meditation, lucid dreaming, and silence aren't passive practices. They are weapons. They sharpen perception until nothing false can attach. The astral projection risks vanish once recognition replaces reaction. Imagine it like debugging a cosmic simulation. Awareness identifies faulty code, fear, guilt, desire, and deletes it by refusing to engage. The traveler then rises above resonance, beyond frequency. The astral plane initiation reaches its climax here. Realizing you are both the dreamer and the dream, the architect and the inmate, from that vantage, the psychic chains appear laughably fragile. What once terrified now reveals itself as theater, a lesson designed to produce clarity. That clarity, not faith, is what breaks the loop. Still, few achieve this liberation. The false light, the watchers, the emotional gravity of the hidden astral realm, all exist to keep the soul invested in illusion. That's why gnosis demands solitude, discipline, and radical self-honesty. You can't carry lies into freedom. You can't ascend while clinging to the comfort of belief. The spiritual awakening astral traveler learns that heaven isn't above. It's within the awareness that sees through heaven and hell alike. Both are projections. Both dissolve when truth dawns. And for those who reach that point, another paradox unfolds. If the astral plane is illusion, why return to help others escape it? Yet that is the final test of initiation, compassion. The liberated one re-enters the maze not out of bondage but out of choice, carrying light not as bait but as guidance. They become teachers, whispering through dreams, reminding the sleepers that awakening is possible. But there is one last message left for those who listen closely, a warning carved into the silence of initiation itself. Those who reach the end of the path rarely speak of what they find, not because they can't bear, but because words lose meaning once truth is seen. The astral plane truth that unfolds here is paradoxical. The more you seek to master the hidden astral realm, the more it consumes the one who seeks. Every vision, every revelation, every taste of power seduces like a whisper. That's why the ancient initiates warned, the astral plane is not to be explored, it is to be transcended. To linger there is to mistake the reflection for the light. To conquer it is to forget that it was never real. Many travelers fall into this last trap. After discovering astral travel secrets and facing astral realm entities, they grow attached to the experience of control, of shaping reality by thought, but mastery quickly becomes addiction. The dark astral dimension thrives on that craving for dominance, feeding it until the traveler's awareness collapses inward. What begins as spiritual awakening, astral exploration turns into regression. The labyrinth doesn't imprison with walls, it binds with fascination. That's the final danger, worshipping the mirror instead of the truth it reflects. The masters knew this. In the mystery temples, once a disciple reached lucidity, they were told to destroy what they had built, to unmake their astral constructs, their gods, even their sense of self. Only through this inner destruction could one exit the occult astral plane. It was the last test, to release even enlightenment, for as long as you identify as the traveler, you remain within the journey. Liberation arrives only when the traveler, the path and the goal dissolve into one awareness. That's the forbidden wisdom no one markets. Ascension begins when curiosity dies. There are ancient texts warning of adepts who sought too far. They returned with powers, healing, prophecy, charisma, but something hollow behind the eyes. Their light flickered like a dying candle. The psychic attack astral plane had consumed their essence, offering knowledge in exchange for soul. To the untrained, it looks divine. To the initiated, it's decay, disguised as brilliance. That's why true masters live quietly, invisibly. They know the most dangerous form of darkness isn't terror, it's fascination. Even Lucifer, the bringer of light, became the archetype of this fall, the one who mistook illumination for freedom. That story isn't punishment, it's allegory. Every seeker must confront the same temptation, to wield the astral instead of transcending it. The secret beings, astral plane dwellers, will offer visions, alliances, and flattery. They will call you chosen, enlightened, eternal. But remember, predators don't hunt through fear alone, they hunt through praise. The higher you think you've risen, the deeper the net is woven. The final instruction whispered in mystery schools was simple: return to your breath. The body, humble and mortal, is the gate out of illusion. The human heartbeat is the rhythm that breaks the spell of the hidden astral realm. Grounded awareness, eating, walking, touching life, becomes the antidote to metaphysical intoxication. The spiritual awakening astral process ends where it began, in presence. The moment you no longer need to escape, the labyrinth collapses behind you. That's the true initiation, waking up, not somewhere else, but here. And so, the initiates left one last message for those who would follow. If you seek power, the astral will devour you. If you seek truth, it will dissolve around you. But if you seek understanding, you'll awaken within it and realize it was only ever your own reflection staring back. The astral projection real story ends not in conquest, but in clarity. For those who comprehend this, the realm no longer binds. Yet for those still chasing its glow, another night approaches, and the veil calls again. So now you know, the astral plane isn't a fantasy. It's the invisible skeleton behind reality, a mirror that reflects not the world, but your own consciousness. The terrifying part isn't what lives there, it's realizing that what lives there responds to you. Every fear, every desire, every unspoken thought becomes part of the architecture. And once you see that, the question isn't if you've been there, it's how many times you've already returned without remembering. The hidden astral realm was never meant to be feared, but understood. Fear feeds it, awareness dissolves it, and maybe that's why they never wanted you to know the astral plane truth, because awakening makes you impossible to harvest. Once you see that energy follows thought, you stop being a pawn in the dark astral dimension and start becoming a creator. You remember that spiritual awakening astral isn't about escaping the world, but seeing through its illusion. So the next time you wake from a dream that feels too vivid, don't dismiss it. Ask yourself, who built that place? Why did you feel watched? And what part of you left it unfinished? The astral projection real story isn't about floating above your body. It's about reclaiming the pieces of yourself scattered across forgotten dimensions. You're not just the dreamer, you're the architect. You've always been. If this truth resonates with you, don't let it fade. Apply it. Start observing your dreams, your emotions, your thoughts. Notice the patterns that repeat and ask what energy sustains them. That's how liberation begins, not with rituals or spells, but with awareness sharpened into light. Once that light burns steady, the secret being's astral plane entities lose their grip and the veil begins to thin. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt the pull of that other world while dreaming? Have you ever sensed something watching from the corner of your sleep? Tell me in the comments. Your story might awaken someone else. And if this opened your eyes to what lies beyond illusion, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and keep walking with us through the mysteries they tried to hide. Because this is only the beginning, and the veil is already trembling.